Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Got a pretty interesting show for you here today. Going to talk some Josh Allen. When's he going to get it done? And it's time for me to be objective and be fair and treat him the same way I treat somebody else. So let's get right to it. All right, Josh Allen. Um, every year, and this is funny. Well, every year over the last 3 years or so, last 3 seasons, we, being the sports media, seem to anoint Josh Allen. Oh, this year is the year that he gets it done and goes to the Super Bowl. This year is the year that he wins MVP. And Josh Allen, without question, is easily a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He is arguably the most physically gifted, I guess him, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. And he, when you look at his size, 6'5", about 240 pounds, he is fast, he is strong. He can run it. He's got a rocket arm. There's really no weaknesses in his game, except, of course, for his judgment, right? Because we know that he's one of those guys that generally is in the top of the league in turnovers at the quarterback position, and period. Because he throws a lot of picks. He fumbles the ball a lot. However, in his playoff career, somehow he manages to tone those turnovers down, which is, no question, the best time that he should do that. But you look at Mahomes, and every year he gets talked about, especially, again, following that classic in Kansas City 3 years ago, which went to overtime. And that's the 13-second game that everyone thought that the Bills had it won. He went blow for blow with Pat Mahomes, who is widely regarded as the best quarterback in the game and already one of the best all time, even though he's only played 6 seasons now. But he's got 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowl championships, and he's been to the Super Bowl 3 times. Matter of fact, every year he's been a starter, he's been in the AFC championship game. That is absolutely absurd. Some of that is his greatness. Some of that is being in the right situation with the right coaching and all that. But at the end of the day, Mahomes is a beast. Anyway, back to Josh Allen. Josh Allen can match Mahomes physical tool for physical tool. He can match Mahomes in terms of going throw for throw with him and run for run with him. And every time these guys play each other, it's an absolute classic. And that's the beauty of this matchup. And it's to the point that I want to say they've played each other. This is 7 times now. And in the regular season, Josh Allen is 3-1 against Mahomes. And in the playoffs, he's 0-3. So therein lies the problem. We know that the playoffs are where records, not just records, but records and reputations are made or solidified. If you can get it done in those situations, which is the highest of pressure, then that's when you truly prove that you're great. Now, I think most people are under the impression that that Josh Allen is great. And if you just look at his ability and what he's able to do, he probably is a great player, or at the very least will be a great player. He looks like he's well en route to being a Hall of Famer. But the question is he more the Dan Marino, Jim Kelly type of Hall of Famer? Or is he the Pat Mahomes type of Hall of Famer, a guy who will eventually be a champion? And that's the question. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we measure, when you talk about great, there are levels of greatness. And at the end of the day, it's all measured out and separated by championships. And now you look at it and you say, okay, even if you have 1 championship or 2 championships, that gets separated. Let's say Mahomes never wins another championship. He's all-time great. But you look at a guy like Joe Montana, he has 4 championships. There's a separator. Then you look at a guy named Tom Brady, who most regard as the greatest of all time, not necessarily because his physical tools, but because his winning and almost always making the big play where it needed to be made. 7 championships, and these things are the separators. So you look at a guy like Josh Allen and you wonder, is he ever going to be able to get it done? Again, he's got every tool you could desire. He's got some pretty good weapons. He's got a solid offense. And he's played pretty much lights out during his playoff career, but he hasn't been able to get over the hump. And that hump being Patrick Mahomes, a.k.a. Mount Mahomes. And you ask, can he ever get it done? Now, in the intro, I brought up, it's time for me to start treating him the way I treat another guy who doesn't show up in the biggest of games. That guy's Dak Prescott. If you watch his channel, you know how I feel about Dak Prescott. And it's for the simple reason that Dak Prescott does not get it done when his team needs him the most. Dak Prescott, I want to say, is now 2-4 or 2-5 in the 2-4, I believe, in the playoffs. Now, the difference is Josh Allen is 5-5 in the playoffs. So he's 500, and he generally plays better. But again, in the biggest of games, generally against Mount Mahomes, he doesn't get it done. And so you look at a guy like Dak Prescott who fails in the biggest of moments. We just saw that last week, and I rip him constantly. So I got to do the same for Josh Allen. When is he going to get it done? When is he going to get it done? There's nothing more that he needs. He's got everything. He's got all the tools. He has the weapons. There's nothing that he should not be able to do at this point. And we know how great Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes are as a duo. But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, this was a situation where Josh Allen had it all. He had the home field advantage. He was playing great. He was on a heater throughout the end of the season. This was the time when the Chiefs were not at their offensive best in terms of weaponry and explosiveness, that he should have taken advantage and finished the job, but he just couldn't get it done. And so you just got to say, Josh Allen, are you just not good enough? Now, there's still plenty of time. You look at a guy like John Elway back in the day. John Elway went to 3 Super Bowls before he was able to win the big one. And he went to 5 Super Bowls total, but he went to his first 3 and got demolished in each of them. He got demolished by the Giants. Then he got demolished by the 49ers. Then he got demolished by the then Redskins, who are now the Commanders. And it was terrible. And people were starting to wonder, with all the physical tools and all the ability and all the comebacks and everything, is John Elway good enough? But he finally got it done. So there is time for Josh Allen to scale the proverbial mountain and eventually win a championship or 2. It's not over for him, but as it stands right now, it doesn't look like it. I thought it was interesting that if you watch this game at the beginning, they were playing it up as Manning versus Brady, Peyton Manning versus Brady, the last great quarterback rivalry in the league. And Peyton Manning was generally thought for years to be the better of the two, but when they met, they being the Colts when he was with the Colts and New England Patriots, he generally couldn't get over Bill Belichick and that hump. And so people were wondering, well, he's so great, why can't he get this done? Now, eventually, he managed to beat the Patriots and go on and win a Super Bowl, but it took a lot of time. I think it was like year 9 before Peyton Manning won a first championship. And so that's where you look at a Josh Allen and you say, well, there's no reason to say it can't still happen for him, but it is disturbing to think that this was his best opportunity to do that and he couldn't finish the job. Real quick, let's take a break and let's talk to you real quick. If you haven't already, please go ahead, take a few minutes to subscribe, like, and hit that notification bell on the channel. We're almost there, almost having the opportunity to get to that 1,000 subscribers limit so that we can go ahead and get these live call-in shows done. That's something I'm really looking forward to doing with you guys, have the opportunity to better interact with you, talk to you directly so you guys can go at me. I know there's a lot of things I say that a lot of people don't agree with, and I'm looking forward to that. Makes the channel even better for 2024. So please go ahead, make sure you do that. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast. We should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, you can give us that 5-star review. You can leave a comment. We love all that. It helps bring us closer to you guys, the listeners, and it helps us rise in the algorithm. Helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get back to it. So, as I was saying, Josh Allen is so incredibly physically gifted, but is he going to go the way of Cam Newton, i.e. one of the best to ever do it for a short spurt, or one of the most physically gifted to ever do it, but never winning a championship? It's very possible that could happen. And so I was watching Get Up the other day, ESPN show, and Dan Orlovsky and Ryan Clark were really going at it over how Josh Allen performed and whether or not he was to blame. Let's go ahead, check that out, and we'll come back and talk about it.
It was what it was supposed to be. This game was about the 2 most talented quarterbacks in the entire world going back and forth. And we've seen it before. We saw it in the divisional playoff round a few years ago, which was why we named this the new Brady-Manning competition, right? The new Brady-Manning saga. But when we look at this game, once again, Patrick Mahomes beats Josh Allen.
Yeah.
And we sit on this show and we consistently say how great Josh Allen is, and I agree. but we start to grade Josh Allen on a curve. When we were on the call this morning, it felt like I was listening to LeBron fans before he took his talent to South Beach. It was Josh did this and Josh did that. We were on the phone for 20 minutes, and Greeny didn't even know I was on the phone because y'all waxed poetically about how great the loser of this game was.
He is great.
Rightfully so.
He is great.
He was
RC, this is the second time we've watched this guy go head-to-head against Patrick, and he's been inarguably, at worst, the second best player on the field, if not the best player in the field, and lost both times. Both times because he was let down. He was let down a couple years ago by the defense with 13 seconds, and he was let down yesterday by 3 massive drops in that football game. That the difference in his game in many ways comes down to one quarterback, Patrick, had his guys make plays, and one quarterback didn't. That's a perfect throw to Sherfield down the left sideline. That ends up in a drop. Kansas City defender does not touch that.
So Watson wasn't there to make that a hard catch.
That's a perfect throw to Sherfield on 3rd and 15 or something.
I ain't never seen a perfect throw where you had to lay out laterally to catch it.
This is a perfect throw to
That's a
Stephon
perfect
Diggs.
throw.
Perfect throw.
So
that's a perfect throw.
The one to Sherfield, the play, that's a perfect. That's 65 yards in the air.
Hey, that's a perfect throw.
But we don't make one of those.
But so here's my question.
Yeah.
Right? Because we want to come here and we want to defend Josh Allen. You don't have to defend him.
Yeah.
You can say straight up, Josh Allen is an absolute dude.
Right.
Josh Allen has shown up for this team when he's needed to, except for when he's needed to most.
Wow, Ryan Clark was hot. He was hot. And I think the reason why he's hot is because Dan Orlovsky made a lot of good points, but Ryan Clark is simply wondering, how many times are we going to have to hear the excuses made for Josh Allen? And there are excuses and there are reasons, but the reasons border on excuses for why he couldn't get it done. And I thought it was very apropos when Ryan Clark said he was listening earlier, and it sounded a lot like LeBron fans when LeBron was in Cleveland. Personally, it sounds a lot like LeBron fans when LeBron is everywhere, right? There's always some reason why LeBron can't get it done, and it's not his fault, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. Now, this was a very good argument in terms of both sides making valid points, but I tend to lean on the side of Ryan Clark on this one because, very simply put, when you're that gifted, at some point, you can't put the blame on everyone else. At some point, you have to be able to lift your team and get it done. And you look at the guy who should really be the rival for Pat Mahomes, and that's Joe Burrow. Now, out of sight, out of mind, Joe Burrow is injured, unfortunately, again. And this is a guy who he's beaten Pat Mahomes in the playoffs twice now. That's really the rivalry that it should be. But the fact is this, Joe Burrow, he can't stay healthy to be on the field long enough. Now, hopefully, after this most recent injury, he will be able to have a run of good health and be able to compete with these guys. Joe Burrow is not as physically gifted as Josh Allen. But when it comes to it, the difference with him is he makes the plays and lifts his team to victory. And he's done it twice now over Pat Mahomes. Twice now over Pat Mahomes, I believe, in Arrowhead both times in the playoffs. And that's a very real thing. And so if Joe Burrow can do it without all the physical gifts that Josh Allen has, why can't Josh Allen get it done? That's the question. So I think realistically, the rivalry is more Joe Burrow and Pat Mahomes. But again, Joe Burrow has to be on the field to make that happen. But Josh Allen, and I don't want to make it seem like this is the end of his career, because again, he does have a ton of time. But as of right now, Mahomes is the preeminent quarterback in the National Football League. And if you want to be that guy, Josh Allen, you have to find a way to get it done. What I want to hear from you is it Josh Allen's fault that he can't get over the hump? Is there something he's missing? Is there something he needs? What do you have to say about it? At what point are we going to start blaming Josh Allen for what's happening here and the inability to get over the hump and get to a Super Bowl, furthermore winning? Leave your comments in the comment section. Can't wait to hear from you. Can't wait to respond to you. I'll be back with you next episode, and I'm out. Peace.